finding animals from the Ice Age. Others had heard that Tony had found the bones of horses and zebras before, but this one made people think of the woolly mammoth. Gold Rush says that the baby mammogram is at least 30,000 years old, and the ground and ice in the area are thought to have kept the animals alive during the Ice Age. During the Gold Rush, people saw more strange things than just elephant tusks. Miners have seen things besides the gold they were looking for. Parker saw something that blew his mind, in particular, meeting the welcome stranger face to face. Parker Schnabel almost passed out when he saw a copy of Welcome Stranger. It is the biggest gold nugget that has ever been found. We saw that he was half a world away from the Klondike Gold Rush Trail. In Season 4, Episode 2, called Installment of Gold Rush, Parker's Trail, he was looking for new experiences and chances. At the start of the show, Parker and his partner Fred Lewis were greeted by Tyler Mahoney, a fourth-generation Australian gold prospector. She opened her truck door and put a 2-ton-long golden boulder across the back seat. A story says that the welcome stranger was so big that it had to be broken into 3 pieces with a hammer so that it could fit on a bank scale. The nugget would be worth about $4.7 million if it were sold today at the rate at which gold is sold. The original welcome stranger was turned into gold bars a long time ago, but 2 perfect copies are still around. 2 of them are on show in Melbourne's old Treasury building. One is owned by the nugget's descendants and is kept there. The one that was taken from Mahoney's truck is thought to belong to the Dean family. A column built in 1897 still stands in Moleagle to mark the spot where the nugget was found. Parker and no other modern gold miner found it, so the question is, who made this huge find that even Parker couldn't believe? The Victorian gold rush happened in the 1850s when a lot of people with big dreams went to Victoria, Australia, to try to make money. They came from all over Australia and other places around the world. Some people hit it big and were rich for life, but for most, they never got that rich. This was true for 2 Cornish miners on February 5th. In 1869, luck came their way. John Dee was born on Tresco in the Isles of Scilly. When he was 1 year old, his fishing father drowned, and the family moved to Pendon in West Cornwall. In this place, he met Richard Oates, who later became his partner. In the 1851 census, both of them were working in the tin mines of Cornwall. In 1853, Mr. Dee moved to Australia, and a year later, Mr. Oates followed suit to become a gold prospector. They went to Maliagoo in 1862 and made a living there for 7 years. Then, in 1864, they hit gold. They found an amazing discovery that made history: a huge piece of gold wrapped in quartz that was hidden just below the surface of a slope called Bulldog Gully. Mr. Dee wrote that he tried to use a pick to lift the rock, but the handle broke because it was so big. He then got a crowbar and dug the nugget out of the ground. The nugget was weighed at the London Chartered Bank in Denali, about 12 miles away. The nugget was broken up right away because the scales were too small to measure it properly. A model or photograph could not be made, but people who saw it remembered its significance. A drawing was later made, and there is now a copy in the Denali Museum. Miners in gold-rich areas often make remarkable finds. Parker Schnabel has shown himself to be a strong and determined individual. Let's take a quick look back at his amazing journey. During Season 10 of Gold Rush, a significant event occurred amidst the flurry of mining activity: the discovery of the electrified nugget. This find excited Parker, his team, and fans of Gold Rush due to its rarity and special characteristics. Parker's quest involved navigating a world of new claims and cutting-edge technology. The electrified nugget, weighing about 41.8 ounces, was named for its dendritic crystal pattern, which resembled lightning bolts. Its unique features made it stand out as a rare natural wonder, increasing its value beyond its face worth. As the season progressed, Episode 15, titled $1 Million Payday, became a standout for showcasing this exciting discovery. The explosive nugget adds a brilliant chapter to Parker's history of gold mining. Its market value is high because it is hard to find and has a beautiful crystal structure. It will always be remembered as an important and memorable gold rush. Find the bounty at Eureka Creek. Parker set out on a dangerous adventure at the start of Season 7 of Gold Rush. He learned about how hard the mining business is by dealing with problems like broken equipment, unstable gold yields, and the risks of unexplored terrain. Even so, he wasn't going to give up. He invested in cutting-edge technology and tweaked his business to meet his challenges and make a huge recovery. Around the middle of the season, there was a big change, and watchers saw Parker's work at Eureka Creek start to pay off. After that, there was a long period of impressive gold recovery, which is where the name Eureka Creek Bounty comes from. The peak of this reward was reached by episodes like Eureka Payday and King Klondike. Parker always found a lot of gold, going above and beyond what fans expected and what he had found before. It was impossible to hold back their happiness as the team enjoyed the results of their hard work and persistence. One thing that makes the Eureka Creek Bounty unique is that it was a turning point. Parker's constant success in finding gold in the area made him a leader in the tough world of gold mining. Because he kept having success, he was able to move his business to other places and buy better technology and tools. Even though Parker has found a lot of gold, he is still losing money. Since he started working as a miner at 16, he has lost a lot of money. Allow me to look at some of the losses he has gone through. A huge $3 million loss occurred when Parker and his team put a lot of money into an area in Alaska and then got 108 ounces of gold from the waste that old gold miners left behind. But what really made things better was an area called the Wolf Cut. It was untouched land that was thought to have more than 2,000 ounces of gold and be worth more than $3 million. They even called this Wolf Cut the most important pit of the season because of how much gold it was expected to yield. It gave them. Parker's crew needed 2 months just to get to the pay layer of the cut because the area is so deep. Things don't always go as planned though. That's how things were for the team. A terrible flood a few weeks ago turned the Wolf into a lake. Because it was so hard, Parker thought it would be better to take all the money and go to Vegas than to drown in the Wolf Cut. Parker, who was known for being stubborn, wouldn't just give up the place. After some trouble, the team was able to push back the water, and Mark Force, who was in charge of the operation, finally came down to get the treasure. Parker was keen to find out if there was enough gold for them to risk everything. He went to one spot and moved the dirt around, but it needed to be better. He finally found some fine dirt in another part of the cut, which meant there was gold there. Parker chose to go work and come back in 2 days with the crew. But just when it looked like everything was going to plan, and they were going to get some gold, something shocked the whole crew. There was a hole in the wall, and mud and water were pouring out of it. It was clear that Mother Nature was not on their side that day. The water they thought they had gotten rid of was back, but this time, it was stronger and a bigger problem than before. People on the crew didn't think this would happen. The Wolf Cut could be filled with water again, which would mean a big loss. An excavator hit the side of the pit while digging for pay at the bottom of the cut. This revealed a mine shaft full of water, which flooded millions of gallons of water back into the pit and filled the pay grounds. There was nothing wrong with the crew's preparation. They just needed to be more ready. They had one 8-inch pump, but they needed more to get the job done. The second pump was turned on, but it didn't make a big difference. There was still water coming in from all sides. The team lost the battle against the water. After they turned on both pumps, they had no choice but to take the pump out of the wash plant. It was a big decision, and Parker should have made the call. The problem was that he wasn't there or answering his phone. They were in a tough spot. The area would flood if they didn't pull the pump from the wash plant to help the other 2 pumps, and they would lose their pay in the Wolf Cut. It would be hard to believe how much would be lost. Tyler made the tough choice to turn off the wash plant and remove its pump, which doubled their ability to drain. They had to leave the area while the pumps did their thing. In 24 hours, the pumps took away 10 million gallons of water. Parker finally came back, and he was very excited to see the first edit of the Wolf Cut. Instead, people told him stories about the flood that had happened. Now, Parker's trouble with water was still going on. In a different story, he came into contact with water again when his mining ground in the Wolf Cut was taken over by water. Underwater mine site, Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre Wolf Cut on his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least 1,000 ounces this season. The pay dirt was 30 feet below, and the team had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material to get to it. 4 feet more, and they would be below water. After that, it would be 30 feet before they hit rocks. But things weren't as fine as they seemed at first. The process was going on right next to a pond, and water would be the first thing to go wrong, if something did. Frozen mud was the best option because it kept the water out. Recruit John Bodra was told to deal with the mud and keep the water out. But it looked like the cut was pretty wet, so they had to call their boss. If not, things would go badly. It turned out that the mud got worse and spread faster as they opened up more areas. They still hadn't even cut out a fifth of the area. The Wolf Cut is next to a pond that is pretty old. There was only a small berm between them, not strong enough to stand up to the water pressure if it was messed with. They dug down and found frozen ice that stopped the water from getting in. The permafrost was broken, which now lets pond water seep through the wall and flood the cut. The area will soon have a lot of water if they let it keep going. There was a need for action to save the day. They thought getting a pump would be the best thing for them to do to fight the water. Parker planned to dig a sunk pond in the cut that was as deep as it could go, and put in an 8-inch pump to drain it. He was not going to lose another water fight. After setting it up, they had to wait until the next day. Their plan as a whole was good, and seemed like it would work. But how did they choose a pump to drain water that big from a pond without first making sure it works and fixing any problems it might have? The next day, everyone on the team walked outside to see their perfectly dry and ready to mine Wolf Cut, but they were about to get a bad surprise. They couldn't find their pump anywhere. It looked like the pump was gone, and instead of a cutting that was completely dry, they found a lake. The pump had terrible problems filling the cut and putting the pump 4 feet below the water. $500,000 were about to slip through their hands. The pump was so deep that they couldn't even walk up to it. Tyson had to pull a small kayak out with the chain and the excavator to get the pump to dry ground where they could work on it. Mark Force, the foreman, said that debris was blocking the suction filter at the end of the hose, which caused the water level to rise and cover the whole pump. To make sure that more flooding wouldn't hurt the pump, he had to take the engine apart and repair it. Parker has shown that he is not easily upset by losses. In fact, he's had a lot of them. In spite of everything, he did something that shocked both miners and fans, putting an end to a season with $14 million in gold. Parker Schnabel and his team were starting a season that might change everything about gold mining. When it was really outside, the risks went up because every shovel full of dirt could make or break their dream. As soon as the season began, there was a sense of urgency, and Parker worked around the clock to coordinate his team's attempts to find the valuable material. The difficult conditions in Alaska were not taken lightly. They put their mental health to the test. They were determined to find their prize, even though the terrain was dangerous and some of the tools they were using didn't work right. Parker had to carefully plan every move because he was in charge of this determined group. His leadership skills had been honed over the years through failures and successes. Expectations were high, but he didn't let that stop him from leading his team through the dangerous terrain. He was motivated by the belief that the Klondike held the key to a life-changing fortune that, when found, would make all of their problems seem small. They finally made progress after a long time, when they found a rich seam that went on and on below the frozen ground. It was impossible to contain the excitement in the mine camp when they found a way to do it, and a large deposit of gold that would make their whole season different.